What is going on, everybody? Welcome back to the Sports Outlet Show. My name's Joe Wagner, your host as always here in Christiansburg, Virginia. Kicking it over to Brent with the fancy microphone. How we doing, sir?
Doing well. You know, talking about one of the conferences in college football. They're not too relevant, but we'll see how things go tonight. We'll see how things go. I think the group of five might be a little bit better, but SEC, they're getting a show about them dropping tomorrow night on Netflix. Might want to check it out. It's gonna be good.
Braden, I need some analysis here. What do we as fans of college football need to get a Netflix documentary about Maction? What needs to happen?
That would be absolutely huge. I think that would be great for college football as a whole, and I think that would just blow up the sport more than it already has been, in a good way.
I think so too. I think it's something we definitely need to consider. But in all seriousness, we're talking about the SEC today. It's always the end cap of a fantastic college summer super series. Here ending the 4.0 with podcast number 5, talking about the Southeastern Conference, a place I know all too well growing up as well as over the past couple of years, but won't have a horse in the race this season. But we'll kick into that a little more. But it's the SEC. It just means more. We get bigger, we get brighter, we get better, and sometimes you just need to get bigger and better. So. Shout out my fiance, Kelby Beckham. It's last week. You can use that last name with a beautiful Sports Outlet Show in the background. So if you see me swaying around or moving around the room, it's because we got to show that beautiful piece back there. So we got new mics, new backdrops, new everything here at the Sports Outlet Show. We just keep improving. That's all we do. So, guys, I got my own little space. It's pretty cool up here. We need some TVs. We need some Red Bulls, some Jägermeister. Oh. Family friendly.
Heck yeah!
Nobody say it.
When's Kelby gonna put the merch on a website for us to purchase?
We need merch designed first, but that could be coming. You could hear it here first. We're always improving, right? Welcome back to the College Summer Super Series 4.0. It's bigger and better. It's the SEC. It's the dynamic of college football at its finest. We got your fun facts today. We got your 16 SEC teams. We're ready to break it down. And what better way to start? You know, we talked about it, right? You guys have noticed we really haven't gone in alphabetical order all year. I mean, that's boring. Who wants to go alphabetically? I mean, we started in the I's in the Big Ten, so there's no way we started alphabetically there. But who really wants to do that? Not me personally. So here we go. To kick off the SEC, the greatest conference in college football, Brent, who do we have?
Yeah, we're starting off with the cream of the crop, boys. The cream of the crop. You know what they say about cream? It rises to the top. And I think we're kicking off things with the SEC with the best team, Mississippi State. Mississippi State Bulldogs. Yeah, we might be starting at the bottom here, boys.
You put we put the wrong Bulldogs at the top. We need to back to the script.
Guys. No, we're just kidding here. We're starting at the bottom. Mississippi State, they weren't just the worst team in the SEC last year. They were the worst by a mile. Only 2 wins and going 0-8 winless in conference play. You know, going into the season, we might have thought Vanderbilt was going to be the worst team. They have been for quite a while now, but no. Mississippi State takes the cake. 2024 wasn't quite 1949 level bad. They went winless that year. Didn't have a single win in 1949, but it was close. It was year 1 for Jeff Lebby, and it looked it. The Bulldogs got torched in conference play, as I mentioned, lost to Arizona State early, who at the time we thought was a terrible team. They ended up making the college football playoff. And after that game, they really never recovered. But Lebby's not panicking. He's a sharp offensive mind, and this roster has been upgraded slowly through the portal. It'll take time, but there are some signs of life. On offense, quarterback Blake Shapen, he was off to a solid start last year. He had 8 touchdowns to only 1 pick before a shoulder injury ended his season early in week 4. He's back, and he's joined by Luke Kromenhoek, a talented Florida State transfer. And if either can stay healthy, the offense should at least move the chains a little bit. The real weapon, though, is South Alabama transfer, Fluff Bothwell. Great name, especially for a running back. He's a thick downhill back who ran for 13 touchdowns and averaged 7.5 yards per carry last year. He'll team up with David Booth, who quietly ran for 570 yards and 5 touchdowns in 2024. On defense, it's still a liability, boys. State gave up 30-plus points in 8 of 12 games. Isaac Smith, he had 127 tackles. He returns as the heartbeat of the D, but he'll need help around him to get that unit to gel. It's a terrible unit. My game to watch, it's a rematch. It's week 2 versus Arizona State. As I said last year, Arizona State, they beat them 30-23 in Tempe. This year, the Sun Devils come to Starksville, and they're fresh off a college football playoff appearance. It's MSU's last real test before the SEC meat grinder begins, and possibly their best shot at proving they've taken a step forward. My floor for this team, it's 2-10 if the defense remains awful, and ceiling is 4-8 if Shapen is healthy and Bothwell dominates. My record prediction is 3-9. Their other non-conference games are Southern Miss, Alcorn State, and Northern Illinois, so those should all be wins in theory. But in the college rankings I go off of, the Bulldogs check in at number 66. The next worst SE team is Kentucky at 45. That's not a gap. That's a canyon. That's a canyon, boys. I think they go winless in conference play once again. They don't even play Kentucky this year. So, again, the second worst team, it's not even on the schedule. So, I'm going 3-9. I don't think it looks pretty for Mississippi State once again.
You know, down there in Stark Vegas, they love a couple things. They love baseball. They love Bulldogs. They do not love the football team at this exact moment. They're the Bulldogs got their bite taken away. So definitely a program Jeff Lebby, former Oklahoma offensive coordinator, needs to figure out because they're in the SEC. Unless you're Vanderbilt, there's not a lot of time to turn a program around. There's not a lot of grace, but we'll talk about Vandy later too and about Clark Lee and company. So we started with the best. I guess we'll head to the worst. Brady?
Yeah, now let's go to the actual cream of the crop here. This team, the Crimson Tide, have been the best of the best for a good couple decades now. But what happened last season? They went 9-4, 5-3 in the conference. They lost the ReliaQuest Bowl versus Michigan 19-13. Head coach Caleb Nabair, he was never going to fill the impossible shoes of Nick Saban, especially not in year one. They did beat number 2 Georgia. That was a great win for them. And then some things that Nick Saban doesn't do. The Tennessee loss was okay. Loss was okay. It's a quality opponent in the close game. After that Tennessee loss, they smacked down on Missouri and LSU. So there's some good wins there, and there's one quality loss. The first loss was versus Vanderbilt. It was the first one since 1984, but Vanderbilt was surprisingly good for once, so it might have caught them off guard. That loss that Joe just had on the screen, the Oklahoma loss, was absolutely baffling. The team averaged 38.5 points per game outside of this game. This game, they only managed to put up 3. They struck first and didn't score afterwards, and Jalen Milroe threw 3 interceptions. So those are games you need to win if you're trying to fill the shoes of Nick Saban. He's going into his second season. He came from Washington. That national championship game appearance was great for that Washington program. And now he's here in Bama. And he's got some ground to make up if he wants to be the next guy here in Alabama. His top player is going to be Caden Proctor. He's a junior left tackle. He's prospected as a top 10 draft pick in the NFL draft, and he is the best offensive lineman in this upcoming class. He will need to continue to play at this level to protect the new starting quarterback with Jalen Milroe gone out of town playing for the Seahawks in Seattle. That new guy is looking like it's going to be Ty Simpson. He's leading the quarterback battle as of late. They also have Austin Mack and freshman Russell Keelan behind him. He will have plenty of weapons. The now 18-year-old Ryan Williams, Journey Bernard, and Miami transfer Isaiah Horton. Last year, he had 56 catches for 616 yards and 5 touchdowns. Those 3 wideouts are going to be huge for the new quarterback, and he's got great protection. Their over-under is set at 9.5. I have their floor at 8-4, and their ceiling, they can do it all, 12-0. My game to watch is Week 5 at Georgia. Last year, they took the win, as I said. They're coming off a bye this year. It's their first and toughest game in their conference slate. A win here would set them up very well for the rest of their schedule. They will be additionally tested later on at home versus Tennessee and LSU. So I have them losing 2 of those games against those tough opponents, going 10-2 this season.
Definitely, I don't know how you fill the shoes, the desk, the office, or the atmosphere in Tuscaloosa. Kalen DeBoer has a huge job ahead of him. And there's not going to be a lot of grace either for the incumbent of Nick Saban himself. So definitely did what he could, but yikes, that game in Norman was rough.
Yeah, pretty bad.
We'll talk about it later. We'll kick it a little bit over to Fayetteville, Arkansas, talking about Razorbacks territory. And, we talk about those teams that's middle of the pack in the Big Ten last week, guys. Arkansas feels like the SEC version of that. Head coach Sam Pittman is going into his 6th season, and Razorback fans are close to having enough of this. If you want to talk about the depiction of mediocrity, Sam Pittman's career at 30-31 is just about that, going into his 6th season as the Razorbacks lead man. Read a little bit of the chat boards at Razorbacks, and every single tweet says win or be fired list. Absolute just head coach that's on the hot seat, especially in SEC country, and a very, very nice job that a lot of head coaches would love to have in SEC country in Fayetteville. They're saying he needs about 7 wins to be comfortable, 8 to be safe. A 6-6 season may not do it for the Razorbacks this upcoming season. Who's going to play savior? Quarterback Taylon Green is the number 1 option for Arkansas and your player to watch. The senior quarterback had a great start season last year after backing in KJ Jefferson, who is no longer a Razorback quarterback. He had 3,100 yards passing, 15 touchdowns, and 9 picks that needs to be cleaned up a little bit. But it's his legs that make him an absolute super stud. Carried the ball 156 times last year, 602 yards and 8 touchdowns. And we need to kick it back a little bit more to his performance in the Liberty Bowl with 422 all-purpose yards, 341 of that through the air, and 2 touchdowns. He showed absolute flashes of Cam Newton that they need Arkansas to show this upcoming season. He's got a brand new wide receiver room coming in. 6 of the 7 are transfers. Just 1 guy remains from his old wide receiver room, and he needed to clean house a little bit to mix up that 15-9 interception touchdown ratio. And if you want to talk about helping your star quarterback, you do exactly this by bringing in Georgia Tech offensive tackle Corey Robinson, who stands at 6'5" and 307 pounds, ready to block either your forefront or your blind side, depending on where Coach Pittman puts him. Now, guys, let me tell you a stat about we give O-line love here all the time, right? Brent started it. He was the first one to ever do it. We've become copycats a little bit from it. But Corey Robinson has a 91.2 pass block grade. That is the highest among Power 4 offensive linemen. Absolute dog. If you talk about an extra half a second where Green is going to decide, am I launching this 50 yards with my new star-studded wide receivers, or am I taking off for another 40 through the gap? That is huge in a young quarterback decision-making. Not in this case because Taylon Green's a vet senior. Another stat about Corey Robinson is he didn't give up a single sack last season and only 8 quarterback hurries, which is absurd from an ACC offensive tackle who was getting edge rushed by a million people, including APR. A fun fact about Arkansas, and I'll kick it over here actually, their over-under wins was at 5.5. My floor for them is 4-8. They do have a tough schedule. It's mean, it's green, it's the SEC, right? So nothing is easy here when it comes to conference play. My ceiling for them is at 8-4. The fact that you're over-under set at 5.5 is already scary if you're Sam Pittman. My game to watch is going to be Week 8 versus Texas A&M. They'll have a couple SEC games under their belt, but A&M seems like another one of those 7-8 win teams where this is one you need to win if you want to save Pittman's job in Fayetteville. My record prediction for them, I think they do go 6-6. I think they lack some talent on the defensive side of the ball. It's something you need to be prestigious in the SEC. My fun fact about them is that Arkansas played in the first ever college football game that was ever televised in the South. That was September 30th, 1950, where they lost 7-27 to Texas A&M truly, and it sparked football broadcast deals and conversations that you see today. So, congratulations, the Razorbacks were relevant for something.
And Joe, you know how I love my hog mollies. I love the Corey Robinson reference there, and a little shout out to Dave Gettleman for always bringing up the hog mollies. Joe and I know Dave Gettleman all too well.
Yeah,
he's
memories.
Great GM.
He's being sarcastic, guys, for people that don't know the Panthers and the Giants, but you got to give some offensive line love every now and again.
Absolutely, hog mollies, baby.
Brent, you have the absolute pleasure of talking about one of our two people in the graphic today.
Yeah, Florida's back, baby. Joe referenced it, DJ Lagway. I'll get to him in a second, but Florida's back. Well, sort of. The Gators finally broke a streak of 3 straight losing seasons, their longest since the 1940s, and finished strong after getting cooked 49-17 by Texas in mid-November. Things could have gone off the rails, but instead, the offense clicked, the defense locked in, Napier reeled in a great recruiting class, and suddenly there's actual momentum. This is Napier's best roster yet. Experienced, deep, talented, and largely untouched by the portal exodus. But the catch? The schedule is brutal. Brutal. Probably the toughest in college football in its entirety. On offense, this team goes as DJ Lagway goes. The 6'3", 241-pound true sophomore is already a program changer. He took over late last season, exploded against Ole Miss, and lit up Tulane for over 300 yards in the bowl win. He's not a big runner, and he tossed 9 picks last year, but the upside is absolutely ridiculous. He's got a big arm, tons of poise, and serious it factor. Napier didn't go portal crazy, as I mentioned, but he did land J. Michael Sturdivant, a reliable wide receiver from Cal and UCLA who's good for a few chunk plays a game. The offense was 8-1 when it hit 330-plus total yards and 0-4 when it didn't. So simple math tells you when they move the ball, they win. On defense, the defense bent but rarely broke, unless it was against Miami, Texas, or Texas A&M. They gave up 123 total points in those 3 games, but outside of that, just 177 points allowed in the other 10 games. Tyreek Sapp, he's the anchor. 7 sacks, 13 tackles for loss, and a future NFL first-rounder. He headlines a front that causes havoc and sets up a ball-hawking secondary. At safety, Bryce Thornton and Jordan Castell make up one of the best duos in the league. Thornton had 3 picks and 41 tackles last year. Castell had 55 stops and 9 pass breakups. These two clean up a lot of messes left over from the rest of the defense. The run defense, it still has a lot of work to do, and third down stops were hit or miss, but this is a veteran group with real upside, and I really like the defensive side of the ball. My game to watch, it's week 3 at LSU. Last year's win over LSU kickstarted this current 4-game win streak, and this time it's in Baton Rouge. Florida will likely be 2-0 coming in, and then things get wild. At Miami versus Texas, at Texas A&M versus Georgia in the 5 weeks that follow. I will say Mississippi State is sprinkled in there, but they were like smack dab in the middle of that in the middle of that 5-game stretch. So that's probably a win for Florida. But the rest
everybody needs a bye week, Brent.
Yeah, absolutely. The rest of the opponents during that stretch, buckle up. My floor for this team, it's 6-6 if Lagway struggles with turnovers and the defense cracks under pressure. But my ceiling is 10-2. But given the schedule, I really think Lagway likely has to be a Heisman finalist to get to this because, like I said, the schedule is just absolutely rough. My record, 8-4. This team is genuinely good, but as I said, the schedule, it's unforgiving. They'll push some top-tier teams, but they still might be 1 year away from breaking fully into the college football playoff conversation.
Yeah, I remember having this conversation last year since the schedule for them.
Yep.
I think they had the number one hardest schedule in college football last year, and 8-5 is pretty solid despite that.
Yep, absolutely. Like you mentioned previously, the SEC is basically flip-flopping schedules. It's basically a copy and paste from 2024. So we'll see what happens. Obviously, there's a lot of turnover in college football, especially with the portal. But I think Florida's going to be pretty good once again.
I mean, they have literally the hardest college football schedule out of any team. So, I mean, success is defined a different way for the Gators. It's one of those teams. If they do have 3 losses, they're probably a college football playoff team, and I think that's hard to argue. Definitely keep an eye out on Lagway's foot, obviously being in a boot as well. So something to keep your eyes on. Gator fans might be nervous. So. But, I mean, hey, nobody does it like the Swamp.
That's true. That's true.
And I do want to give a shout out to Carson. It is true. Tim Tebow is the greatest Florida quarterback ever. I know that's not exactly what he said, but I'm gonna pretend that's exactly what he said. So, but Gators are definitely an interesting team to watch, and I'm glad you guys mentioned it. I hate the flip flop of home and away opponents. I don't get it. Let's get some differences here. We got 16 teams. Let's kick it over. Take me to Auburn, Alabama, Braden.
Yeah, we got the first of the Tigers here today. Last year they went 5-7, 2-6 in conference games. Guys, that 5-7 record probably isn't as bad as it looks. 3 of their losses came by 1 score, and only had 1 loss decided by more than 2 scores. That was Georgia. They lost by 28. So their losses were kept close, and if some of those fall the other way, they're looking at a very different season. They're head coached by Hugh Freeze. He might be a little bit distracted this year. He did have a recent cancer diagnosis. They say it's very treatable, so he should be okay. But that's obviously a big distraction and can take up a lot of space in your brain. He's been a great coach in the past, at Liberty especially. It's his 3rd season here at Auburn. He's gone 11-13 in his tenure so far. He struggled replicating his success at Liberty in the SEC. Before he went to Liberty, he was at Ole Miss. So he's 23-39 at Ole Miss and Auburn in 7 seasons. He'd like to pick that up a little bit. And he's going to have help from his top player, Keldrick Falk. He's a junior defensive end. He's a fringe top 10 pick in the upcoming draft and by far the best player on this team. That's not to discredit the other amazing talent on this team. He's just that good. Last year he had 45 tackles, 11 tackles for loss, 7 sacks, 1 forced fumble, and 1 fumble recovery. On the offensive side of the ball, Jackson Arnold transfers in from Oklahoma. He's slated to be a starter going into the season, and he's not the only addition to the offense. To protect him, they bring in right tackle Mason Murphy from USC and left tackle Xavier Chaplin from Virginia Tech. They also bring in wide receiver Eric Singleton Jr. He is a junior. He comes from Georgia Tech to pair with Cam Coleman. Singleton had 1,468 yards and 9 touchdowns in 2 seasons with the Yellow Jackets. And he's used a bit in the running game last year with 21 carries. Their over-under win total is set at 7.5. My floor for them is 5-7, and my ceiling is 10-2. My game to watch is going to be Week 4 at Oklahoma. They're starting off on the road against 2 teams that are projected to be in the middle pack in the SEC. That's Oklahoma and Texas A&M. Taking home one of those 2 would do great things for them, considering that they have other games against Georgia and Alabama later on in the schedule. And other than that, they can win just about every game here. I had them going 8-4 this year, taking a bit of step up and looking forward to the future in this SEC.
Yeah, Braden, I'm glad you mentioned it, especially that game to watch. I mean, it's a little more of, you talk about 2 middle of the pack teams, especially last year, but coming into this upcoming season as well with a lot of transfers, with a homecoming for Jackson Arnold, it's going to be emotional, right?
Yeah.
Week 4, last time he was in that stadium for the opening SEC game, which it is Oklahoma's, which we'll get to. Jackson Arnold was benched against Tennessee in the first ever game of Oklahoma history where he was embarrassed, throwing picks and fumbling and having 3 turnovers basically in the first half.
Mm-hmm.
And then it was Michael Hawkins Jr. season, and just there's a lot riding on that one for him, especially with John Mateer coming in. We'll talk a little more about that, but that is absolutely circled on every Auburn Tigers fan schedule, so definitely be looking out for that one. Should I do my Pat McAfee impression? I don't think I should. I don't know. How about them dogs? There you go.
That's
The
good.
best you're getting.
I liked that.
Thank you. I met him in person, talked to him for 5 minutes, picked his brain with College Game Day. Me and Pat go way back, best buds. Probably coming to the cornhole tournament at Labor Day. We'll see. We're on a see each other once in a lifetime basis, so try to keep it casual. I should have pulled up the photo. That's hilarious. But in all seriousness, Georgia Bulldogs. We talk about legendary head coaches in the SEC, and Kirby Smart has slated himself right there at number 2 behind Nick Saban, especially over the past couple years. This Bulldogs team is interesting. It's the first year where it feels like in a long time there hasn't been a quarterback who's had SEC snaps and the number 1 top guy. We're going to talk a little bit about Gunnar Stockton in a minute, but first of all, I just want to give Kirby Smart his flowers. In the SEC with a Power 5 program like the Bulldogs, the expectations are high. He was the fastest SEC coach to reach 100 wins, doing so in 117 games. That's immaculate in itself. So giving your flowers to Kirby Smart, first of all, with everybody jokes about it, but with the off-the-field issues as well, the fact that he's putting a college football team out there every week. I understand there are things that need to be fixed off the field, not joking aside as well. But every year, Kirby Smart finds the top talent in college football. It says it again here. He had the number 2 class of 2025 with 4 5-stars and 24 stars just behind the Texas Longhorns, who we will chat about later. So he has a recurring pool of talent, and I'm really interested to see what Gunnar Stockton does at quarterback this upcoming season. But you can't talk about top player about a guy that's the quarterback that has barely taken any snaps and started in 1 game. You first have to talk about future first, late-round pick defensive tackle Christian Miller, the junior defensive tackle who's just an absolute beast and is finally getting his opportunity to be a full-time starter, be a full-time dog. And, if you talk about edge rushers and defensive tackles, just go look at the Philadelphia Eagles. They're all playing well.
Sadly.
Sorry, Brent. Christian Miller had 27 tackles, 3.5 tackles for loss, and 1.5 sacks last season. He's going to be a great captain piece for this defense. And, it's loaded in the full back 11, really. Again, talked about he's going to be a projected late first rounder, early second rounder. But that's the defensive side of the ball. Your problem now turns to quarterback. You obviously have the UCL injury last year where Carson Beck goes down, and all eyes are on the Georgia Bulldogs. Notre Dame's coming to town. It's the Sugar Bowl. We're ready to rock and roll, and all eyes just fall. So did the Georgia Bulldogs, unfortunately, to Notre Dame after having the first round bye. First of all, Gunnar Stockton coming in and winning the SEC championship is an SEC snap in itself. So I'll give him credit there. But now you're going into full season with the roughest and toughest. And that's what Georgia Bulldog football is. Last year, he had 206 yards passing, didn't throw a touchdown, but had an interception, started in that Sugar Bowl versus Notre Dame. Obviously, a really good defense he went up against. They lost 23-10, and it just really felt like there was no chance for the Bulldogs to get going. Carson Beck obviously transferring to Miami. The answer is on both teams this year. Is Gunnar Stockton legit? Is Kirby Smart's offense that great? Or is Carson Beck just an absolute poser? We're going to figure out all three this upcoming year. Somebody that's going to help him, Kirby did a great job in the portal. The number 5 transfer coming from USC, Zachariah Branch, is going to be tremendous to help him on the offensive side of the ball. This is somebody that could easily be a second or third day draft pick, if not in the first, if he has an explosive season. He obviously a little underwhelming last year, having 47 receptions with 503 yards and a touchdown as well. He also brought safety Zion Branch with him, so we got a brother pairing on both sides of the ball. Zion expected to take secondhand snaps. The Bulldogs have everything in front of them this season. Kirby Smart's going into year 10, just like our fantasy football league. Two way different careers, but got to drop it in there. 105-19, 100 wins in 117 games is just impressive. They're over under probably the lowest we've seen for the Bulldogs ever in the past 10 years at 9.5. I have their floor sitting. It's going to be a difficult season if they lose all those games. Take a look at the Bulldogs schedule. Their floor's at 6-6, but that's because there are 6 teams they could theoretically actually lose to in this conference. That's not going to happen. The Bulldogs, I have their ceiling at 11-1, and big matchup. We're going to find out exactly what kind of a player Gunnar Stockton is in week 3, because you're going to Rocky Top. It's time to go to Neyland Stadium. It's time to listen to the chants. It's time to go to the Tennessee Volunteers, one of the hardest places to play in Knoxville, Tennessee. We're going to find out real quick what Gunnar Stockton is made of. I really believe in the Bulldogs team. I can never doubt Kirby Smart as a coach. I think he's been able to do it with Carson Beck. He's been able to do it with several other quarterbacks that honestly haven't been of star-studded talent in the NFL. I have the Bulldogs going at 10-2 this year. I think they make a college football reappearance. And, watch out for them Dogs, because this is a conference that can very quickly go their way. So, fun fact, of course, and then for comments, that the UGA, Bulldogs were the first team in college football history to wear numbered jerseys on the front and back.
Wow. Can't imagine a world without that. That's crazy.
There you go.
I feel like it would be hard on the refs if you only had it on one side. But
turn around for me, man. No.
But no, Joe, you mentioned the 9.5 over/under win total. I'm looking at the spreadsheet here. It's still tied for first among the SEC. So obviously, lower than it's been in the past. But considering the question marks at quarterback, especially with Carson Beck leaving, I still think that's a really solid number for them. And I think it's really a testament to Kirby Smart with how good he's done over the past 9 seasons. He really is truly probably the best coach in college football now that Nick Saban's out of the picture.
Yeah, I honestly don't think there may not even be a debate to it
Right.
with Kirby Smart and the fact that talent is returning year after year after year. And just, especially on the defensive side of the ball, I'll joke again, look at the Eagles. They are all absolute, shall I say it, dogs. So you get what you get. But let's go over to a place that has some pretty good bourbon.
Yeah, I got Kentucky boys, and my tagline for Kentucky is that wasn't supposed to happen. Kentucky last year, under Stoops, they really had built a blueprint. The blueprint was win 7 to 9 games, sneak up on someone, make a solid bowl, repeat. But last year, that didn't happen. The wheels fell off. The offense was stuck in the mud. The defense eventually cracked under the pressure. And outside of a shocking 20-17 win over Ole Miss, a win that likely kept Ole Miss out of the playoff picture, the season was a mess. It was Kentucky's first losing record since 2015, excluding the weird 2020 COVID year. And now there's urgency. Stoops hit the portal hard, trying to plug gaps across the board. It's a solid rebuild on paper, but much of the help is coming from the FCS and the group of 5. So I'm not sure that's not established talent that you're pulling from, and playing against the SEC big boys, I think it might be a little tough. The offensive line should be better thanks to 2 big portal additions. Alex Walschlager, he's from the MAC. Get a little MAC representation here. He's a MAC All-Star. And Shiaza, these names are really hard to pronounce. Shiaza Pete. He's from the CUSA, and he was also really, really good over there. So, like I said, not the biggest names for schools they're drawing from, but established talent over there. So we'll see what happens when they bring those guys to the offensive line. But even with more protection, can the passing game finally deliver? It'll be Zach Calzada at quarterback, the former Texas A&M starter. He hasn't played meaningful snaps in years, but has the size, arm, and maturity to steady the offense. Still, he'll need help from a thin wide receiver group and some consistent third down conversions to get Kentucky out of neutral. On the defensive side of the ball, the defense did what it could early on last year, but without help from the offense. It wore down, plain and simple. This year, everything hinges on McKeese Grace. He's a transfer edge rusher from South Dakota who dominated last year, 9.5 sacks and 18.5 tackles for loss. If he can replicate even 75% of that in the SEC, Kentucky will have a legit pass rushing threat. But it's still a defense in transition, solid, but not enough to carry a sputtering offense again. My game to watch, it's the rematch, Week 2 versus Ole Miss. This was the moment last year. Kentucky shocked Ole Miss on the road, handing the Rebels a loss that kept them out of the playoff. And that was also Kentucky's last FBS win of the season. Last of the season. This year, it's in Lexington. Win again, and maybe there's a pulse. But after that, SEC play ramps up fast. At South Carolina, at Georgia, versus Texas, versus Tennessee. It's a rough schedule. My floor is 3-9 if Calzada isn't the answer and the defense gets no help. Ceiling, a lot of people think Kentucky can get back to a bowl this year. I really think that's more of their ceiling. So I think their ceiling is 6-6. My prediction, once again, it's 4-8. Stoops earned the benefit of the doubt, but the roster is filled with unproven pieces from lower levels. Until they show they belong in the SEC, it really is hard to expect much more than last year's results. So, like I said, going 4-8 once again.
You want to talk about a coach that's had a roller coaster? Look up Mark Stoops on Wikipedia and look at his record. It goes like this, especially in an SEC style play with Kentucky. I mean, 67 and 73. Like, at what point? You're 13 years down the line. At what point in this new age of college football does a change happen?
Yeah, it's
definitely.
It's rough for sure. I mean, like I said, like since 2015, they really haven't had a losing season outside of the 2020 year. So granted, those seasons were more like 7 wins, 8 wins. Like they weren't pushing the needle very much, but they really thought they figured it out with Mark Stoops. They gave him time, and obviously the wheels fell off last year. So, like you said, Joe, it puts them on the hot seat for sure.
It really does. Braden, I heard you make the joke earlier about the Tigers, and I feel like every year you make that joke, and every year you keep getting all the Tigers. Are you doing this on purpose?
I'm not. I promise I'm not. Last year I did not have all 3 Tigers. Spoiler, this year I do. I'm just hogging the Tigers. They're good animals.
I feel like I see it every time we do this.
The LSU Tigers, 9-4, perhaps the best Tigers in this conference. Not perhaps, definitely. 5-3 in conference. They won the Texas Bowl versus Baylor, 44-31. Guys, LSU's stuck in a 9-10 win limbo. They're seeking to return to national championship contention for the first time since the Joe Burrow era. It's just not happening. I feel like outside of the SEC, any fan base would be happy with 9 or 10 wins every year consistently. But these fans are ruthless. And they're not happy with 9 and 10 wins. They want to compete for national championships. And that falls under head coach Brian Kelly. It's his 4th season, 29-11 at LSU. Again, that feels like a great record. It's just not enough. It's his 23rd season overall. He's 174-72 as a head coach. And he's led by his quarterback, Grant Nussmeier. He's a senior. He is a top quarterback in this upcoming class with a stellar season. He could propel himself into the number 1 overall pick conversation. But he does have to turn down the turnovers a little bit. Last year, he threw 12 picks, led the SEC in that stat. He had 4,000 yards, 29 touchdowns. So I think if he has 5 more touchdowns and 5 less interceptions, he's looking at number 1 overall pick territory. On the defensive side of the ball, they brought in Mansour Delane. He's a senior quarterback from Virginia Tech. Last year, he had 54 tackles, 1 tackle for loss, 4 interceptions, 7 pass deflections, and 2 forced fumble. That one hurts. We hate losing him. He's also going to be playing on Sundays next season. Their overall over-under is set at 8.5. I have their floor at 7-5, so I think they're sailing over. And their ceiling, they could do it all. Their team is good enough to win all 12 games this season. But it's going to start with this game. My game to watch is not Alabama, though they would love to get revenge from last year. Guys, Joe mentioned I've had the Tigers. I've had LSU for 3 years in a row. I'm having deja vu here. I'm going to tell you a story that I told you last year, and it got worse. Their week 1 woes continue. They have not won their opening game since the national championship season in 2019. Joe Burrow, Jamar Chase, Justin Jefferson, Clyde Edwards-Helaire, Coach O. They
Go Tigers.
won in week 1 since then. 2020, it was Mississippi State. 2021, UCLA. 22 and 23, that was Florida State, and last year was USC. And it's not going to get easier this year because they're at Clemson in week 1. They're in the other Death Valley. They need to win here in order to return to those national championships. So their national championship contention, you got to win in week 1. You just got to do it. History says if you win in week 1 and you're winning the Natty and you're going undefeated. I do think this is a really good football team, and I have them going 11-1 this year. That Clemson game is huge. They also take on Alabama, and there's some other tough games. It's the SEC, of course, there's going to be. But yeah, 11-1 for LSU this year. They should make the playoffs with that record.
Yeah, I believe it. Garrett Nussmeier. I mean, it's hard to come in after Jaden Daniels, especially with the season he had a couple years ago. But he really didn't take a beat. I mean, Garrett Nussmeier is the real deal, probably behind and granted, Arch Manning hasn't even played yet, but he's already he's already deemed the top prospect for 2026. But right behind him is Garrett Nussmeier, in my opinion. I really think he has all the tools to be successful in the NFL. And I think any team that drafts him is going to be really happy with the results.
Absolutely.
I think so too. There's some star-studded quarterbacks in this conference. I mean, we're gonna throw the word around Heisman like it's candy. With all the quarterbacks in this conference for sure. We threw it around a little bit with Drew Hour last week. Guys, we're officially at the halfway mark. 8 out of 16 teams done. You know what that means. It's time for everybody's favorite sports outlet show game to show. We shout out Kelby Beckham, by the way, for this amazing sports outlet show. We just keep getting better here at the Sports Outlet Show, with design, continuing to keep up the standard here. So appreciate the beautiful fiance putting that up. But it's time for everybody's favorite game show that doesn't care about football. I care about football, and it's my favorite too. So we have the blind top 10 for you guys, but I'm not going to show you the category before we decide. So Brent and Braden, week 1, right? Rough showing on the Sports Outlet Show with the blind top 10. Week 2, very well done performance. This is all being judged by Kelby too. So you guys know it. Raving review last week, by the way. Give them a shout out. Hand them their flowers. This week, you guys have a decision to make. Braden, you went first week 1. Brent, you went first week 2. Who is kicking off this list and going to decide if it's do or die?
I think we keep the momentum from last week. Have Brent go first again. Worked last week. Let's let it work again.
We'll see how it goes, Braden. I hope I don't let you down, buddy.
You won't. You couldn't.
Here we go, man. We have a very good one for you. It's going to tear apart families. Here we go. The blind top 10 today is fast food favorites.
Ooh, I think I'm going to be good at this one.
Yeah,
we are ready to rock and roll. Let me get it pulled up. Start thinking a little bit. Don't give too much context, but how are we feeling about the topic?
I like it. I obviously don't know what you're going to throw up there, but I think I have a good, solid list in my mind. I'm circulating ideas.
All right.
Yeah.
Number 1. Let's throw you right into the trenches. Brent, you have the Popeyes chicken sandwich.
Oh, we're going food items, so not the restaurants.
No, sir. We're doing items.
Okay. That changes things a little bit. Popeye's chicken sandwich. That is pretty top tier. I'm going to go Man, I'm gonna go number 2.
Number 2.
Yes,
Off the rip.
it's so good. I like it better than Chick-fil-A. That's a personal preference, but I think their chicken sandwich is superior.
Yeah, I'm with you, Brent. I think that's a great place to put it. I think you could put Chick-fil-A chicken sandwich at 3 right behind you, and nobody would complain. But I still think it is the better sandwich.
Got the Popeyes chicken sandwich. Braden, are you ready? Are you ready to be thrown for a loop?
Yes, absolutely.
We have the Krispy Kreme original glazed donut.
Okay. Yeah, when you think of the fast food, you're usually thinking lunch and dinner, but breakfast does play a part into it. So I think there's a lot better choices here. The Krispy Kreme original glazed donut, it's very good. It's a very good donut. But I got a lot of things in my head that I think are better than it. I think I'm gonna drop it at 9 here. I think.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow.
That's bold.
I'm expecting a lot of good things here.
You might be right, Braden. I like the gamble. But Krispy Kreme, they do have a terrific glazed donut, especially when that light's on.
Absolutely.
Sure.
Absolutely.
That's crazy. Here, I'll put donut in here. The proper way to spell it. I don't know the other way. All right. Whew. Already started getting heated, guys. At number 3, this might throw some people in the burner. We have the McDonald's French fry.
Top tier French fry. Probably the best in the game. I'd compare it to that, star. I wouldn't say it's the star quarterback because the star quarterback is really the main entree, but maybe the star tight end, star running back of the team. I'm going to have to go number 4. McDonald's French fry, number 4.
I'm going to have to say that's too low.
I think there's going to be some good ones on here.
All right. Braden, back over to you. Probably the underdog of the bracket, but I know how much you appreciate this one. Hold on, let me you can't see number 10. Let me fix that for you, gentlemen. Get a proper list going here. At number 4 for you to select, underdog in my opinion, is the Panda Express orange chicken.
Okay. Yes. Very good. Love me some Panda Express. There's some good scenarios for it. Once again, I think there's going to be better things on there. I'm gonna start it in at 10, and I'm pretty comfortable with that.
Wow.
I don't hate that, Braden. I don't hate that at all.
A lot of good options.
I've
seen you eat this so many times at the casino.
I know.
The orange chicken at Panda Express is really good. I won't deny that, but Panda Express as a whole, it's just not my favorite fast food. That's for sure.
All right. At number 5, it sounds like you guys are confident with this one, but Brent, you got the Chick-fil-A sandwich.
Chick-fil-A sandwich. This is what I was hoping for, putting McDonald's fries at 4. Just hopeful that that Chick-fil-A would be right there with Popeyes. It's not a far competition between the two, but I'm gonna put Chick-fil-A chicken sandwich right beneath Popeyes at number 3.
Love it. I love it.
At number 6. Now this is another underdog that not many. This is more targeted towards this group, and I'm glad it's Braden selecting this one. It's the cheapest meal deal on the streets. It's great for if you're doing the 999 challenge. We have Sheetz hot dogs coming in here.
Yeah, very, very affordable. Probably had more of these than I need in my lifetime.
They're so good.
They are. I'm comfortable sticking towards the bottom here. I think I'll go 7. I think there's some more iconic ones that are still coming up. I do love me a Sheetz hot dog though.
All right. Back to you, Brent. Definitely feeling this one a little more after soccer practice. It was big when we were in middle and high school. Still on the menu, but only in one flavor. Is the Taco Bell Doritos Locos Taco.
Yep. I'm very comfortable putting this one right smack dab in the middle. I'm trying to decide between 5 or 6. My personal favorite. Did you say a flavor of the Doritos Locos Taco or just any flavor?
Just all of it.
Okay. My personal favorite between the two is Cool Ranch.
Yep.
Man. I think I'm going to go number 6. I think I'm going to go number 6 for
6.
Doritos Locos.
I think that's a good play.
All right, let's take a pause. Let's take an intermission. We've ran you through gauntlet a little bit. You have your 1, 5, and 8 still open, and with that 2, 3, 4 sitting there, makes me nervous. All of those competitive number 1 pick players. The question is, what are you guys holding out on? Obviously, don't say it, but there's something you're holding out on number 1, and I'm waiting to see it. Braden, it could be this one at number 8. Here's your hint for the day. You get one hint to help you with the finale of this list. It's the only time a fast food restaurant will be repeated on here, and it is the McDonald's Coca-Cola.
Yeah, very good. McDonald's Coke, McDonald's Sprite, they all just hit different for some reason. I don't know what they do to it. But your drink, that's not what you're really looking for most of the time. So I can slide this in at 8 here and feel pretty comfortable with that. That's not really – it's not the main thing, as Brent was saying about the fries earlier. I
think the drink is more of the kicker.
Yeah, exactly.
Reliable, you need it, but it's not the most important player.
You guys have put yourselves in a pickle. Here we go with number 9. It's either at 1 or at 5, and you're leaving the blind for the rest with the final pick here going in blind. At number 9, Brent, you're going to place the list, is the original recipe KFC fried chicken.
It definitely can't go at number 1 for me. It's good, but it's not that good. I'm comfortable putting this at 5.
All right.
Well, let's see what we got here. I'm a little nervous.
You got to save the best for last, Joe.
Yeah.
Come on, man.
I think you see some of the things on there. I don't know if I had a better for last.
We'll see.
Based off of what's on the screen for you guys already, what are you hoping to see at number 1?
Maybe I don't know if that's top tier though. I was gonna say maybe like Big Mac quarter pounder, maybe a cheesy gordita crunch. That would be a phenomenal option.
Okay.
I'm trying
The
to.
problem is, your hint was that this is a restaurant that has not been used yet.
That's true.
I'm looking for a Wendy's Biggie Bag. That could be at the top for me.
That doesn't seem like a food. It seems like a whole meal deal. Braden, your wavelength is partially correct. At number 1, you guys, if you think it's a kicker, I guess this is the punter. You guys have a Wendy's Frosty at number 1.
You know, Frosties are pretty good. I wouldn't say it's number 1. I mean, kind of got screwed there at the end, but I would still rank it I'd probably rank it ahead of Sheet's hot dog personally, but that's just my opinion.
I think not putting the Popeyes, Chick-fil-A, or McDonald's fries was your downfall. When you saw the triple threat come on the board, one of those has got to go at 1. That's my only note. Other than that, I think you guys did well. Besides that, McDonald's Coke should be a top 3. That's my personal opinion.
I'll take the blame on that one, Braden. It's my bad.
That's okay.
I ranked all the top 4, so I'll take the fall.
I think if we slot that Frosty down to number 7 and just shift everything else up, I think we're good there.
I think that's a phenomenal take. So here's the question to the audience: do we want to see more of these? Right? It can be an everyday segment. I'm going to run out of things. It could be an everyday segment. So, like you guys know, you will be judged by Kelby. So be prepared after the podcast. We need to do like a behind the scenes of just Kelby roasting you guys. Like, what? Just have the screen up and have her taking a video of herself like, you guys are idiots.
I'm nervous for this one.
Yeah, me too.
That's okay. I think an honest full opinion, besides the Wendy's Frosty, you guys had a very good list. So, give yourself a round of applause. It's not, hey, the number one pick isn't always the best player. That's all you got to know.
Caleb Williams.
Sometimes it's just the best guy on the board. You needed the athlete. The Frosty's good to dip in. It's good to eat. When it becomes a milkshake at the end, it's just about how you phrase it. How you phrase it. So,
I like it.
Sounds like we're getting YouTube Reels and TikTok ideas in the comments. So that's funny because that's been being discussed a little bit. But here we rock and roll. We're back to football the rest of the way here. And for the first time, guys, since Brent Venables' first season as a Sooner, I actually get to talk about the program, which is pretty cool. If you go back to the Sports Outlet Show when I talked about the Sooners before I worked there, you would have heard the name Brent Venables. The pronunciation was poor. Needed to do a little bit more research back then, but I'm pulling up my notes like I need them to talk about this team. So let's talk about Oklahoma a little bit. Obviously, Brent Venables going into his fourth season as head coach there. It's a do or die season a little bit. It's do or die time in Norman, Oklahoma. Obviously, huge additions that we're going to talk about this offseason, but offensive coordinator Ben Arbuckle, one of the biggest targets that he got this offseason that he really wanted, and it came with a combo package a little bit that we'll get into here in just a second. But Venables has probably the team he wants surrounded him going into year 4. Looking at the hot seat rankings, as always, he's number 4 on there. So something to keep an eye out with in Norman, Oklahoma. They do not take anything less than success. Just know that from pure knowledge, guys. Just know that from pure knowledge that the fans want success. I mean, you talk about Baker Mayfield, Kyler Murray, at college, Sam Bradford, not in the pros. Couple Heismans, 7 of them. But let's dive in a little bit with the Sooners. Player to watch, it's easy. It's smackdown. It's John Mateer, the transfer from Washington State, following his offensive coordinator-minded Ben Arbuckle to Norman. It's the number 1 transfer on everybody's radar this upcoming season, and Oklahoma landed him. He had 3,100 yards in the air, 29 passing touchdowns with 7 picks. But, guys, it's been a little bit of a time since Oklahoma had a guy that could run like Kyler Murray, and John Mateer is that guy. 826 yards, 15 touchdowns. That stacks up to 44 total in Pac-12 play, might I add. 44 total for John Mateer. He's a Heisman candidate. He was a finalist for the Manning Award last year. He is going to be a game changer in Norman, Oklahoma for every single down, every single game, and is going to open up an offense that has been a little stagnant over the past couple of years. Top transfer for me it's got to be running back Jaden Ott from California. Obviously a little battered and bruised last year, but if you go back to 2023 when he had 250 carries, he had 1,300 yards and 12 touchdowns. Talk about having a 1-2 punch on offense, and that is exactly what the Sooners have. Obviously, a couple big names leaving for the draft, Danny Stutzman, Billy Bowman, and then obviously the transfer portal took a hit. Losing Nick Anderson and losing Joe Wagner, senior account executive, big hits for the Oklahoma Sooners. So, we all got to hit the portal at some time, but I had to throw that joke in there at least.
Big loss. Big loss for Oklahoma.
Big loss in the world of revenue. I'm just kidding. They got a great team there. On defense, obviously returning is R. Mason Thomas. Sounds like a law firm because it basically is one. Kip Lewis, Peyton and Eli Bowen, the brother combo, and Gentry Williams, as well as Robert Spears Jennings. I mean, this defense is loaded with talent. And I mean, Brent, you talked about it earlier, talking about the defensive line a little bit as well. Very excited to see what the Sooners can do in year 2 in the SEC. Obviously, that 6-7, 2-6 record staring at them in the face, especially with all the hype going into the SEC. Oklahoma is a team to watch out for. Their over-under is set at 6.5, and I'm not giving college betting advice, but good glory take the over when you're talking about this Sooners roster. Definitely a difficult schedule, but I mean, if the Sooners were one win away with the team they had last year, and basically the same schedule, if we're talking about home and home, if we're talking about home and away, excuse me. I don't see how this team doesn't at least get 7, 8, 9 wins. My game to watch for them, it's every year. It's week 7. It's Texas. It's the Red River rivalry. It's the Cotton Bowl. I think John Mateer versus Arch Manning is going to be a historic battle. That's going to have everybody turning on their TV at 2:30 Eastern time. So definitely keep an eye out for that one. But I also think week 2 against Michigan is a big one for them too, with the Wolverines coming into Norman for a non-con game to keep your eye on. That's going to have implications coming down the pipeline when we get to late December. I have the Sooners. I don't know if this is bias or just how much I really like this offense and the defensive coming back. I have them at a 9-3. I think they have some difficult games. I think going into Tuscaloosa could be a problem with Bama having that game on a list after losing 24-3 last year and getting embarrassed. I think Texas is going to be a really rough time trying to stop Arch Manning on offense. And then losing a game in there between Tennessee, Ole Miss, or LSU, also probable with Michigan tossed in there as well. So keep an eye out for the Sooners. Very intrigued to see how they perform this season. But my fun fact is actually something I learned there, so didn't look this one up, is that Oklahoma, they talk about this all the time, in the Bud Wilkinson era, won 47 straight games in a row from 1953 to 1957, which concluded in 3 undefeated seasons and 2 of their 7 national championships. So there you go.
What a run.
What a run. But super pumped to be able to talk about the Sooners. Was still there when the Mateer news happened, so that was awesome. But, hey, life at college, hit the portal, guys.
It happens.
Hey, we'll be back there in less than a week, so pumped to walk the streets of Norman again. So, place I've very much loved and excited to watch and be a secondary fan away from Norman this time. But going to be a fun one. I'm very pumped for the entire team there, and I can't wait to see what John and Jaden do in Norman. So, do we have to talk about this team? Or they're going to beat us. Darn it.
Yeah, I have the pleasure of talking about the South Carolina Gamecocks. 2024 was one of the best seasons in Gamecock football history, and somehow it still felt like a missed opportunity. They didn't play Georgia, Texas, or Tennessee, got Alabama and LSU down to the wire, and still fell short of the college football playoff, and ended the year with a stinker of a Citrus Bowl loss to Illinois. Brutal. But here's the good news. Everything's still on the table. South Carolina has a schedule that, again, avoids the SEC's heaviest hitters. We've already talked about it. And a rising star at quarterback in Lenoris Sellers. Speaking of Sellers, he had 2,534 passing yards, 18 passing touchdowns, 674 rushing yards, and 7 rushing touchdowns. This was his freshman season. I'd say that's not too shabby for your first season as a starter.
It's okay.
And that's not even the best part if you're a Gamecock fan. I like to put it this way. For every Nico Iamaleava out there who, as we said on the last pod, bailed on his team to chase a bag at UCLA, there's a Lenoris Sellers who turned down $8 million.
Respect.
$8 million from Georgia, again, sophomore in college, to stay loyal at South Carolina. Now that's how you build a culture. That's how you build a program. My top transfer in, it's Rasul Faison. He's a senior running back. He had over 1,100 yards and 8 touchdowns at Utah State. He's a shifty, reliable back who always falls forward and gives the Gamecocks the reliable ground game they missed last year. On defense, South Carolina quietly had a top 15 defense in all of college football, and that was despite constant injuries and turnover. This year, it's a fresh look front, but the secondary remains loaded. Jalen Kilgore, who had 5 interceptions and is an all-SEC level talent. DQ Smith and Peyton Williams return at safety. And Judge Collier and NC State transfer Brandon Siss lock down the corners. On the line, Dylan Stewart and Brian Thomas are back after combining for 11 sacks. And this group has the talent to repeat last year's success and maybe even elevate. My game to watch, it's no surprise. It's week 1 versus Virginia Tech.
What?
Is it the most important game? No, probably not. But it is a tone setter in Mercedes-Benz Stadium, and us boys will be in the building.
Boots on ground. Boots on ground.
Sports outlet show coverage, boots on the ground. If Tech somehow steals this, the wheels could wobble. And us Hokie fans, we would be over the moon.
We would gobble.
Maybe we'll even do an emergency pod if that were to happen. Again, unlikely, but we have to keep the hope. We have to keep the hope.
If we do win that game, I'm fully phrasing, Brent, you saying the Gamecocks wobble while the Hokies gobble, and I'm putting it on a T-shirt.
Oh my gosh.
I love it.
That would be awesome.
We'll Sports Outlet Show on the front, that on the back, score, game, 8 mil on the wrist, out.
If Virginia Tech won that game, I would have some horrendous takes about Virginia Tech. I would probably have the most hope I've ever had as a Hokie fan. So that's just to put in perspective how unlikely that outcome is. But my floor, back to South Carolina, my floor for this team, 7-5 if the defense regresses and Sellers has to carry too much. Ceiling is 11-1 with a college football playoff push if they take care of business and finally beat Clemson again. My prediction is 9-3. This is a good, experienced, portal-savvy team with a program-defining quarterback in Lenore Sellers. Their only true landmines are at LSU versus Alabama and versus Clemson. So I really think they'll only lose those 3 games. Maybe if we're lucky, it'll be 4. They'll lose to Virginia Tech week 1. But my prediction, 9-3.
I mean, just what a scene it would be if it happened, if it happened.
We can only dream.
Gamecocks wobble, Hokies gobble. I'm full bent going into Mercedes-Benz, screaming that like I do rootin' tootin'. All right, it's what's happening.
Looking forward.
It's been decided.
Looking forward to it.
Braden, spoiler, Tigers. Tell me about them.
Surprise, surprise. It's the Tigers. I collected all 3 of them this year. Again, not intentionally. Exactly. The Tigers are inevitable. One of the 3 will be good. 10-3 last year, 5-3 in conference. They won their bowl game, the Music City Bowl versus Iowa, 27-24. And that's back-to-back 10-win seasons for Mizzou. That's it's been a decade since that happened, and happened in the 2013 and 2014 seasons for them. So Elijah Drinkwitz, their head coach, is doing pretty good things here in Missouri. It's his 6th season. He's gone 38-24 overall. His best returning player on the offense is Caden Green. He's a junior left guard. He's one of the best interior offensive linemen in this upcoming draft class. Brady Cook and Armand Membu went to the Jets. Nate Knoll went to the Dolphins, and Luther Burden went to the Bears. So he'll be protecting a whole new offense. And that's going to be headlined by Bo Pribula. He's a senior quarterback coming from Penn State. He spent 2 seasons behind Drew Aller. He's thrown 37 for 56 for 424 yards, 9 touchdowns, and 1 interception. He's also had 94 carries for 571 yards and 10 touchdowns. So he can move a little bit. It's going to be his first year as a starter anywhere, and it's going to be for Missouri. Their over-under, I think, is a little bit disrespectful. It's at 6.5. I have their floor at 5-7 and their ceiling at 11-1, and that's going to be because it's a fairly light schedule for SEC standards. Like last year, they're going to avoid Georgia, Texas, Ole Miss, Tennessee, LSU, and Florida. So that's 6 of the best teams in the SEC, and they're just passing them right by. They don't have to play them. However, they do have Alabama in Week 7 at home. They need to hold on to some momentum here in this game before they head into the brunt of the schedule with some middle-of-the-pack teams. There would be huge SEC implications if Mizzou can steal this one. I don't see it happening, but I do think they still have a pretty solid season at 7-5.
So you're telling me that out of all the Tigers, that the LSU Tigers are the best Tigers?
Yes, and I think that's not controversial.
But it could be. What about the Memphis Tigers?
That's true. That is true. Potential playoff team.
Thanks, man. I appreciate you letting me know that. You want to talk about another potential playoff team, 2024. Let's talk about the Texas Longhorns for a little bit. It's interesting that I got the Sooners and the Longhorns. Do I keep it professional or do I throw it down? Which one? We'll keep it professional to start. Obviously, the Texas Longhorns, 13-3, 7-1, semifinal appearance against Ohio State, losing there. What was a very close finish and came down to the final whistle for Quinn Ewers and company. But first of all, I want to talk about Steve Sarkisian and did a little bit more research about the Longhorns coach going into his fifth season, If you look back to 2021, the Longhorns were in what some would call a rebuild, going 5-7. He has turned a 5-7 team into a quarterback and wide receiver masterclass with a little of the buckles on defense ready to rock and roll, and Bevo's not even playing back there. But, I mean, you talk about Texas, and they're one of the most relevant teams in college football, and quickly have established dominance in the SEC, just slipping in the SEC championship game last season to the Georgia Bulldogs. Sarkisian's coming in with a record of 38-17. He's 13-3 last season, was just one win away from that, just trying so difficult to get to the college football national championship. Every single year he provides a team that can get there. Is this the year? Let's see, and let me tell you why. First of all, he's had back-to-back 12-2 and 13-3 seasons, 13-3 in the SEC, and then 12-2 taking the Big 12 championship home with him. I mean, should we just say the name Arch Manning and just put it out there? Sophomore quarterback who's might be the most prized possession in college football. Not even talking Heisman candidacy, but talking about every NFL scout will be watching every single Texas Longhorns game until the moment this kid enters the draft. And it has more to do with the fact that he never lost a game in high school. It has more than the fact to do that his last name is Manning. It's that there's a Manning that can run the football. That's a problem. From the least athletic brother in the family, too. Goodness gracious. Let's talk about the Longhorns a little more. In his 10 games that he's had appearances, obviously most of those have been just coming in crunch garbage time, we like to call it. He did have a couple starts with Ewers hurt as well, but 939 yards over the air, 9 touchdowns to 2 picks. He's one of the more aggressive passers, but he can work a pocket, and he finds the gaps to run through, and a Manning has never been able to do that. Very interesting to see. And I mean, sitting behind Ewers for those seasons as well is just exemplimentary to the fact of this young man that he wants to play in Austin, Texas. Another guy to watch is going to be linebacker Anthony Hill. You're going to hear his name on day one of the NFL draft. It's a given. Last season, 113 tackles, 16 and a half TFLs, 8 sacks, a pick, a pass deflection, and 4 forced fumbles. This guy is a beast. One of the best players you may see come out of Texas, both on the offense and defensive side of the ball. Not only was he first-team SEC, guys, this guy was so good he was first-team All-American in the NCAA. Absolute stud, and he will be making just terrible lives for quarterbacks in the SEC. He wants every Heisman quarterback on his back like Myles Garrett. A little more about the Longhorns. Another guy to watch is Murad Watson. It's crazy how much retained talent the Longhorns have had. And again, number 1 overall class going back to 2025 with their freshmen incoming. So they're just building. They continue to build, the Longhorns do. Their best transfers from Syracuse because they don't need any. Murad Watson had 31 tackles, 1.5 TFLs, a sack, and a pass deflection. And then a little insider information, 2 guys to watch out for. Ask the Longhorn fan himself and Ian Cottle. Ryan Wingo is a guy to watch who had 29 receptions, 472 yards, and 2 touchdowns. And If Arch Manning can throw this guy the ball, he's got speed, he's quick, he's an underrated wideout. I would watch out for every cornerback in the NCAA. As well, a guy on the defensive side of the ball with Colin Simmons, another underrated star player who had 31 solo tackles, 9 sacks, and 3 forced fumbles and a pick. This Longhorns defense is loaded to the teeth. This team looks better than last year, and that's scary. Some may say Quinn Ewers was the one holding this team back, which is crazy for a guy that went to the NFL instead of signing for $8 million. Kind of like Lenoris Sellers. Talking about the Longhorns, Brent, you mentioned it earlier with 9.5 over under on their win total. Their floor is 7-5. There's no way this team doesn't make a bowl. Their ceiling could be as high as 12-0, but I'm going to set it at 11-1. Arch Manning is a prospect of just glory for every NFL scout and just going to hurt the minds of every NCAA head coach trying to plan against him. Maybe call up Northern Illinois. They know how to stop Power 5 offenses. I have them going, their game to watch, week 1, noon, big kickoff. How else would you like to start the season rather than a win at the Shoe in Columbus, Ohio? Huge game for them. Obviously, the SEC is big, but you have a chance to go into the Shoe and beat the Buckeyes, the reigning national champions. Talk about a first big league start for the kid. We're going to find out real quick if this is Manning blood or it has to be. There's no other ultimatum, really. I have the Texas Longhorns going 11-1, the number 1 seed in the SEC, and I have the Longhorns winning the national championship this upcoming season. It's year 5 for Sarkisian. It's some of the greatest weapons they've had on offense. This defense is the best in football. If Arch Manning is 75% as good as a prospect out of high school that has been seen, I'm sad to say that Sooner fans need to watch out. This team is going to be gross.
Yeah,
that's my take.
It's going to be ridiculous. I'm looking at the Heisman odds right now, and Arch is leading the way, plus 650. The next best is Garrett Nussmeier at plus 850. I think it's wild to me that, like, this is, I mean, granted, he has played a little bit, but this is his first season as, like, the established starter, and he's already the Heisman favorite. That's ridiculous to me. And I was looking it up. I was trying to see if there were any other players in recent memory that this has happened to, and
it doesn't exist.
I can't find any data. So it's wild. They're calling their shot.
I understand the hype behind the last name Manning. I get it. I do. I understand the bias, but he lives up to it and pushes further, and he hasn't even started a big league game. If he walks into Columbus, Ohio, and goes into the Shoe and throws for 404 touchdowns, put him on 1.1 on draft weekend in Pittsburgh, period. It's done. As long as he goes, of course.
Yeah,
as long as he goes.
I was going to say, I don't know if he'll declare. It might depend on the team, honestly. That's at
true.
Number 1. But I think the minute he declares, he will be the 101.
No.
Regardless of how he does in college, to be honest with you, just because of the hype around the name.
Correct. He'll have the largest NIL deal if he stays in year 2, which I honestly think he likely will. I would love to see 2 years of Manning in college, and then the Panthers will hopefully be bad by then, and we'll tank. I think we just tank twice. We take one on the chin for the team. I love Bryce Young. I'm just kidding, but that'd be fun. Anyways, your fun fact for the Longhorns. I went on a long-winded rant there to get to Arch Manning and your fun fact, but everybody knows the Hook'em Horn sign. It was actually debuted in 1955 by a male cheerleader named Harley Clark, who did it during a pep rally before a TCU game and instantly became a hit. So anybody out there, you can make a college football tradition any day of the week. So that's pretty cool.
Love it.
Good stuff.
And then the other fun fact is the horns down was invented. I'm just kidding. I mean, obviously not being in Norman for this upcoming season, I'm still like eyes glued on OU Texas. I'm pumped for Mateer versus Manning. It's gonna be ridiculous.
Yep.
That's my long-winded conversation. You guys can't give me OU and Texas. It's not allowed. We'll remember that for next year. Talk about Rocky Top.
Yeah, it's never boring in Knoxville. The Vols are a full-blown question mark right now, and also happen to be one of the most fascinating test cases in the sport heading into 2025. Why? We've hit the nail on the head plenty of times already, but their former Golden Boy Nico bounced for UCLA after rumors of better NIL deals. Tennessee refused to negotiate, in my opinion, rightfully so. And now Joey Aguilar, originally UCLA's expected starter, has landed in Knoxville to take over. So they did a little jersey swap there. Aguilar, he's talented. He's had over 6,700 yards and 56 touchdowns in 2 years at App State, but he turns the ball over quite a bit, and he doesn't have the 5-star prowess like Nico. And yet, maybe that won't matter. Despite losing over 15 players to the portal and 4 players to the NFL draft, Tennessee didn't go scorched earth in replacing them. Instead, they trust a few savvy additions like Notre Dame's Sam Pendleton on the offensive line, a strong crop of freshmen, and a defense that returns scary production. The pass rush will be nasty with Joshua Josephs ready to explode after biding his time behind James Pierce and Byron Young. The dude was the 3rd highest rated defensive player in the SEC last year in his first year of action and is already a projected 2nd-round pick next year. I look for that to climb if he continues his solid production. On the back end, corner Jermod McCoy might be the best defensive back in the entire SEC. He's had 75 tackles, 6 picks, and 14 pass deflections in 2 years, and is a projected high first-round selection in next year's NFL draft class. Yes, there's uncertainty at quarterback and running back with Dylan Sampson now in the NFL, but there's enough firepower, coaching, and continuity here for the team to make noise again. The schedule, it's favorable. Georgia and Oklahoma come to Knoxville. No Texas, no LSU, no South Carolina, no Ole Miss, no Texas A&M. That's not bad at all. My game to watch, it's week 3 versus Georgia. The first true test. If the Vols pull off the upset in Neyland, clear your calendars for the end of December. My floor for this team is 7-5, and my ceiling is 11-1. But considering the talent that did stay and the extremely favorable SEC schedule, I'm going to go 9-3. The Vols may have lost their star quarterback, but they still have a clear college football playoff path right in front of them if things fall right.
Nico, I'm leaving.
Nico, I am a leaving. And
He is a left.
For less money, smaller program, less draft stock.
And granted, I don't think they miss a beat. I really don't think they do. I think their roster is good enough. I think Aguilar is talented enough to get it done for Tennessee. And I think they hit the same exact record they did last year, 9-3.
It's funny how they just traded.
Yeah, they did the old jersey swap.
Seriously, I mean, how long till we have trades in the NCAA? Talk about cash considerations.
It might happen.
That would be wild. Let's go on down to Oxford to the Grove. Let's talk about Ole Miss. Let's talk about Hotty Toddy, Braden.
Yeah, unfortunately, they are not the Tigers. They are the Rebels.
Sorry.
Yeah, there's only 3. Can't do much else. 9-3 last season, 5-3 in conference. They won the Gator Bowl versus Duke. They beat the crap out of them, 52-20. Their 3 losses last season, LSU and Florida, those are quality losses. LSU was in overtime. But Brent mentioned it earlier, that loss against Kentucky. What are we doing? What are we doing there? Setting that aside, those 3 losses were by a total of 13 points. So the Rebels were 2 touchdowns away from 12-0. Lane Kiffin has brought them to a state of consistently good so far this decade. That's something that they haven't done in a while. But can they do something they haven't done in even longer since 1963, and that being winning the SEC. The last time they won it, Tulane was still in the conference. So it's been quite a while since the Rebels have won this conference. It's Kiffin's 6th season. He's gone 44-14 with them. Very, very solid. He's got a great team here. My player to watch is Serterin Perkins. He's a junior linebacker. He's a potential first-round pick, and he's certainly a day 2 pick, barring a catastrophically bad season. He had 60 tackles, 14 tackles for loss, 10.5 sacks, and 1 interception last year. Fellow 10.5 sack linebacker, Princely Aman Milan. Excuse me, I definitely butchered that. He was drafted 3rd round by the Panthers. So they brought in his brother, Prince Will, from Nebraska to replace him. Why not keep it in the family? On defense, they also brought in a whole new starting secondary through the portal. On the offensive side of the ball, they're losing Jackson Dart. He is a New York Giant. And Trey Harris, wide receiver, he's a Charger. So that leaves sophomore Austin Simmons expected to get the nod at quarterback. As a freshman behind Jackson Dart, he completed 19 for 32 passes for 282 yards, 2 touchdowns, and 0 interceptions. And to help him out, they bring in Dejon Stribling, senior wide receiver from Oklahoma State. He had 882 yards and 6 touchdowns on 52 catches in 2024. The Rebels over-under set at 8.5 wins. I think that's pretty solid, but I do think they exceed that. I have their floor at 7-5 and their ceiling at 11-1. My game to watch is going to be Week 11 versus the Citadel. No, I'm just kidding. But seriously, why are we scheduling tune-up games this late into the season? These non-con games are supposed to be tune-up games at the beginning of the season, not bye weeks. For like teams like the Citadel, Mercer, Charlotte, Eastern Illinois, scheduling this late into the season is crazy for these powerhouse SEC teams. My actual game to watch is going to be Week 5 versus LSU. Having this matchup at home this year is huge and will shape the entire season for Ole Miss. It's their first real test of the season, assuming they don't slip against Kentucky again for no reason. They lost in overtime in Death Valley last year, so it'd be great to get revenge before taking on Georgia later on. I have this team going 10-2 this season, perhaps sneaking into the playoffs.
Sneaking into the playoffs.
Perhaps.
Playoffs?
They're going 0-12. They're missing Jackson Dart. So
that's a fair assessment. I didn't consider that.
Yeah, Jackson Dart is the truth. He's already the best quarterback in the NFL, if you didn't know. So, yeah, sorry, Braden. 0-12.
Okay, fair enough. I concede.
Let me introduce you to a team and a man that need no introduction. Let's talk about the Vanderbilt Commodores. Oh, that one hurts. Okay. Sorry, we got through the pain of Week 1. We'll talk about it. Beat VT. Big deal in Nashville. It's fine. Whatever. Let's continue on. They beat Alcorn State. Why are we not talking about that? Oh, wait, they beat Alabama. Everybody's talking about that. Okay, cool. So head coach Clark Leah, can we talk about this guy for a minute? He just got a contract extension through 2029. The Commodores just went 7-6. Had debatably the biggest win in ever Vanderbilt. Ever. Clark Leah is 16-33 in his tenure at Vanderbilt and just got signed for the next 4 years. All you have to do is beat Bama one time. Or maybe it was VT. Could have been Alcorn State. It was Bama. Anyways, talking about the Commodores, let's dive right in. He's going into his 5th season. He's 16-33. He looked up College Game Day in Norman, Oklahoma when Nick Saban sat down next to Pat McAfee and said, every place is hard to play in the SEC except for Vanderbilt. And he goes in year 1 with Saban gone and personally embarrasses them in Nashville. What a win for Vandy, and transitioning straight into quarterback Diego Pavia. This is no shot at Shadur Sanders, but we need to put this guy's jersey in the rafters from the season that Pavia had last season. Just incredible. Retire the jersey. It doesn't matter what he does this year. They beat Bama at home. It's over. Pavia had 2,293 yards, 20 touchdowns, and 4 picks, which is absurd in itself, but also had 800 yards and 8 touchdowns. And nobody can seem to stop the triple option that the Commodores have been running last season. Definitely intriguing going from 7-6 to Vanderbilt was the joke of the conference to having better records than, we can go straight up the line. There's not many. of Oklahoma, Kentucky, Auburn, tied with Arkansas, and Mississippi State. So impressive, not bottom of the barrel. What a year for Clark Lea and company. They also brought in from FAU safety sophomore CJ Hurd with 82 tackles, a tackle for loss, a pass breakup, and a forced fumble. Things are not getting easier for Vanderbilt, including 3 games they have to go to in Tuscaloosa, Austin, and Knoxville on October 4th, November 1st, and November 29th. The back half of the season is a forest fire for the Commodores, and it's going to be rough. I don't think we see a fairy tale story again. I think this game is more circle than it's ever been for Alabama fans. And Vanderbilt continues to be the stadium where, it's in Nashville. It's a great time. But, what a win just for them last year, and just what a confidence boost for everything around Vanderbilt. Again, it's set at 4.5. I have their floor. I think it's fair to say their floor is at 4 and 8. I think they could get their ceiling as high as 8 and 4 as well. I think it's in that mixture. Bowl appearance is possible for them. Game I'm looking out for is week 3 at South Carolina. It's a game we're talking about. South Carolina is one of the better teams in the SEC. It's a instant test going into Columbia to see what they're made of for this upcoming year. And is Diego Pavia that guy, or is it just going to be another year for Vanderbilt? I have the Commodores taking a step down at 6 and 6, so similar to last season. I think that Pavia is just electric and is going to be a Commodore for life. I really do think they might retire the jersey this upcoming the next fall after this season. Your Vanderbilt fun fact is that Vandy opened its series against Tennessee Volunteers with a 12-game win streak from 1892 to 1913, which was the longest streak by either school until Tennessee surpassed it in 1995.
I like it.
Which I need to look, but it may still be running. I'm just going to throw that out there. Last but certainly not least, let's talk about the Aggies.
Yeah. To start us off, I have a little question for you guys.
Okay.
How many double-digit win seasons has Texas A&M had since 1998?
1998. Well, Manziel was one, Braden.
Let's say, that might be. Let's say 3. Let's be safe at 3.
I was literally gonna say 3.
1.
Oh no!
They've had one double-digit win season since 1998. This is a school that is constantly talked about as a football school, as having one of the top recruiting classes. Their fan base is awesome. They have the 12th man. One double-digit win season since 1998. Missouri has had 2 in the last 2 years. Missouri. With as big of a football school as A&M, that's inexcusable, in my opinion. But this is the year A&M finally has to turn all of its potential into something real. The facilities, NIL power, and fan base scream contender. And in Mike Elko, they might have finally found the right guy to channel all of it. No Alabama, no Georgia, no Ole Miss, no Tennessee on the schedule helps. But they also play Notre Dame, LSU, South Carolina, and Texas. So I really call it a wash. The front 7 was loaded last year, but late season collapses exposed the pass rush, with first-rounders Shamar Stewart and Nick Scourton gone. New faces like TJ Searchie from Florida and Damon Hayes from Rutgers need to step up fast. In the middle, linebacker Torin York is a dude. 82 tackles and 9.5 tackles for loss last year, and he returns alongside Scooby Williams. On offense, the Marcel Reed era has begun. He's a dual threat with real upside, and now he has real weapons, including KC Conception from NC State, one of the top portal grabs in the country, who has had 124 catches for close to 1,300 yards and 16 touchdowns, along with 356 rushing yards and 2 rushing scores in his first 2 seasons. He's the 8th ranked wide receiver in next year's draft class. He's a stud, and he's going to add some real firepower to this offense. The backfield is led by star running back Le'Veon Moss, who was on a tear last year, running for 765 yards and 10 scores before missing the final 5 games with a leg injury. He's the 11th ranked running back in next year's draft class. The O-line is dominant, with all 5 starters back and NFL potential among guards Amaj Reed-Adams and Chase Besantis, along with left tackle Trey Zune III. The running game is going to be extremely hard to stop. My game to watch is Week 12 at Texas. Finally, the Lone Star Showdown matters again. Both programs should be in the SEC title mix, and Texas has gotten the best of them in the last 2 matchups. My floor for this team is 6-6. Injuries, a still shaky pass rush, and a sophomore slump for Reed could derail things. My ceiling is 10-2. If Reed clicks and the defense holds up, this team could play for the SEC title. My record prediction, and honestly a lot more realistic than both of those, is 8-4. The stars are aligning, especially on the offensive side of the ball. I just don't know if they're quite at the top yet. So I'm going 8-4.
I think it is absolutely wild, that 10-win stat. To claim you're a college football school and have that once in the past 30 seasons when you had Johnny Manziel.
They're one of the first schools. I mean, granted, there's probably like a good 10 schools maybe ahead of them that I would consider like a football school, but Texas A&M is definitely up there. Like, that's inexcusable to have one season, like you said, Johnny Football. That's just crazy to me. Crazy.
It really is wild.
No way to treat the 12th man. It's unfortunate for the fan base.
Absolutely.
They need a 10th man, it sounds like. They need double digits. It's that simple. Guys, we just ran through all the SEC teams, and typically that's where we end the podcast, right? But not tonight. Not now, not in this moment, because as you guys always know, we just finished the College Summer Super Series 4.0, but it's not done until the Sports Outlet Show picks a national champion. I went through the data. I went through the fire. I dug up every single team that we went through, that we deep dove into, and I have your 12 college football playoff teams. We're going to start in round 1. Hosting is the Penn State Nittany Lions, hosting the Boise State Broncos in a 12-5. And let me finish before we go anywhere. We had a couple tiebreakers that I had to go through with the help of myself, ESPN statistical analysis, as well as using, DraftKings odds making. Did a little bit of a formula to get this done for the tiebreakers, as well as the fact of, guys, if you remember from the offseason, the top 4 teams are not the top 4 ranked conferences from this past offseason. All 5 conference champions, your Power 4 and your Group of 5, are represented, but not getting a first-round bye. Could they still show conference championship as being an added bonus to get it? I think so, to prove that they weren't wrong in the initial model. But for now, based off of all the stats we've done, this is our CFBP number 2. Let's start off Boise State heading into Happy Valley. What do we got?
Yeah, I think Penn State easily wins this one. We went into Penn State, how good they're going to be this upcoming year. Drew Aller, obviously, gosh, why is the name escaping me? We talked about him at length. Nicholas Singleton. That's the name I was trying to get. And that 3-headed monster they have there at running back. I really think Penn State wins this one.
Yeah, I completely agree with you, Brent. I think the talent is just overwhelming for this Group of 5 team. I think it might be a while before we see that Group of 5 team take on another team and win it.
It's such a tough draw, too. Like, assuming, besides last year, obviously, Boise State having the first round bye, like, the number 12 is likely going to be a Group of 5 moving forward. First of all, when Arizona State was disrespected last year, getting the 12, when Clemson got the 12 last year. It's a hard game to go in and play, especially because not only are you playing what's debatably the team that's got a chip on its shoulder because we're not top 4, Well, we won 11 games. First of all, that's a problem in its own. And second of all, they're going into a home field advantage on the other side of the football. So something to definitely watch. I also have Nittany Lions here beating the Broncos. This would be a rematch as well from 2024. So keep an eye out on it. Hosting in Tempe, Arizona is the Arizona State Sun Devils against the Notre Dame Fighting Irish in matchup number 2. Braden, you kick this first.
Yeah, I think I'm going to take Notre Dame here. I think Arizona State used a lot of their magic last season. I still think they're going to be a very good team. Obviously, we predicted them to go 11-1, but I think Notre Dame is feeling a little bit fire from last year. They want to get back to that game and they want to win it this time.
Yeah, I think I would go Arizona State here. I really like Sam Levitt. I really like Jordan Tyson. I think that connection is going to be awesome this year. I know Sam Levitt's like top 10 in Heisman odds. So I think I'm going to go Arizona State here.
So a tiebreaker coming right off the gates. I think that Arizona State's a great team. I think Ken Dillingham has a fantastic program going in Arizona. I think Sam Levitt still a little bit young going into his sophomore season. I do think this is where the tenure of Marcus Freeman takes over, having a little bit more maturity, being the runner-up last season as well. I do have the Fighting Irish in a close one to advance, so we have a split decision on here, but don't think there's a wrong one there either. Kicking it over to our 10 versus 7 matchup, we're going to have a hosting in Athens, Georgia, versus coming to town, the Miami Hurricanes, a ACC team poking its head in at number 10 and number 7.
Yeah, this is no question for me. We talked about them at length today. Granted, they don't have Carson Beck anymore, but I really think Georgia just has too many weapons on every side of the ball to even give Miami a shot in this game. So I'm going to go Georgia here.
I'm going to agree with you, Brent. This is an interesting one. I think it's fun that it shaped out this way with the whole Carson Beck situation, him going to Miami. I still think Georgia is by far the better team, and Kirby Smart is the better coach. So that is going to be enough to make the difference here.
I could not agree with you gentlemen more. I think this would be a smackdown matchup, especially going into Sanford Stadium. I think it'd be a problem for the Hurricanes, and something Carson Beck is just not familiar with is the roar of that Georgia crowd. I think it'd be too much. So I also have the Bulldogs in a sweep. Probably one of the most beneficial. Seems we had a little bit of SEC bias in this one, but being hosted in Tuscaloosa is the Ducks versus the Crimson Tide. Going at your 8-9 matchup. Seems like the Ducks got a little bit of the SEC unfavor going into Tuscaloosa. I'll take this one first. I think the Ducks are a young team. I think losing Gabriel and a couple of key defensive pieces is a lot for Dan Lanning and company. I think the Crimson Tide, it's almost like a break year for Kalen DeBoer, and I think this is a game he needs to win. In Tuscaloosa, I think you have a slight edge. I'd put this line at 2.5 for the Crimson Tide. I think they win it by a field goal.
Yeah, I'm also going to go Alabama here. Caden Proctor is the best tackle in the nation. He's already in the top 3, top 5 conversation for next year's NFL draft. Isaiah Horton is an absolute weapon. What a get for them in the portal this year. I think Alabama wins this one.
Yeah, I think I'm going to have to agree here. They're both having some new quarterbacks going into this year, guys that they didn't play with last year very much. I think Alabama's going to have the edge here.
Another clean sweep. Wow. No love for puddles. That kicks us over to our semifinal matchups. Obviously, the first team you're going to see with a bye, another SEC team. But what a matchup this would be in whatever bowl game appearance they'd be heading off to. Would be the Penn State Nittany Lions against the LSU Tigers. Drew Aller versus Garrett Nussmeier would be one to watch.
Oh, man. Recency bias is getting me a little bit. Just with LSU normally falling on their face when it comes to playoff time and playoff hopes. I think the Penn State defense is really what's gonna carry them over the line here. You just highlighted the quarterbacks. I mean, between Drew Aller and Garrett Nussmeier, it's a tough competition between the two. I'm going to go Penn State.
Yeah, I think this matchup is absolutely incredible. I would love to see it shape out this way. Nussmeier versus Aller, as you mentioned. I think that'd be just an absolute battle. It'd be so fun to see. But we mentioned back in the Big Ten podcast that this has to be the year for James Franklin. And let's have him win this huge game here and see what he can do here in the next round.
I can't believe we're calling LSU a full sweep here, but I completely agree. I think that Drew Aller, it's time. It's James Franklin's time. It's time to buckle up and win a football game, especially one in the SEC in a New Year's Six bowl. Definitely have Penn State in this one. I think that LSU is a phenomenal team. I would not be surprised if the Tigers won this game in any shape or form. I'm the same with you, Brent. I don't know what it is about the Nittany Lions. If it's Drew Aller this year, the defense, like you said, Abdul Carter Jr. basically on the other end. I'm pumped to see what they can do in the Big Ten for sure. But another clean sweep. But honestly, I don't even think this clean sweep's anywhere close. But the Tigers are a great football team, and I am pumped to see what they can do, especially if Nussmeier stays healthy for the full year. Which sends us over to another kind of interesting matchup from the ACC getting a bye is the Clemson Tigers going up against your Notre Dame Fighting Irish.
This one's easy for me. I'm easily going Clemson here. I think if you have a guy off, like with other teams in college football, I think Clemson might be at the top of the list. I think it would be between them and Texas, for sure. But I'm going Clemson here. They're easily the cream of the crop of the ACC, and I think they destroy Notre Dame in this matchup.
I'm with you here. I think the quarterback tenures is going to be something that's a pretty huge difference here. Kate Klubnik is very solid, and he has experience in these big games. And I think he's going to be very poised going into this college football playoffs if they were to make it.
I hate to keep agreeing with you guys, but I have the Tigers in a landslide. I think it's an ACC just waiting matchup. Obviously, Notre Dame playing in that conference in basketball, but just the Fighting Irish without Riley Leonard don't give the same kick that they really felt like they did last season going to the national championship. And this Tigers team feels like it has it figured out with Klubnik and Tabo as well. So definitely a team to continue to look at in the ACC, which is a poor conference that we've seen shape out a little more than we typically would like. But I think they roll through ACC play and they're ready, fresh off a pie, to face whatever comes at them. So picked the Georgia Bulldogs to win. They are going to be traveling to go to number 2, your Big Ten conference title winner, the Ohio State Buckeyes, rearing their head. What a game this would be between two young quarterbacks. Kirby Smart, Ryan Day, another big day for Ryan Day to be able to show just the pack-a-punch that the Buckeyes have. I think just with the offensive side of the ball, I think that this is just a huge, huge opportunity for Jeremiah Smith to just ball out on a young roster on the Bulldogs' defensive side of the ball. I have the Buckeyes in a close one.
Yeah, I don't have much to add on that. I would agree with you on Ohio State. Jeremiah Smith, as soon as he enters the draft, he'll probably be the number 1 overall selection, which is kind of wild for a wide receiver when you think about it, but he truly is that good. He's generational. I'm going to Ohio State.
Yeah, not that it matters. I am going to take the opposing stance here. I'm going to go with Georgia. I think this coaching matchup is one of the better ones we'll see in the modern era of college football. You guys mentioned it, Ryan Day, Kirby Smart. They're just absolute legends at this point. But I am going to take the Bulldogs here.
As you've seen, we have not seen our number 1 seed yet, but rearing their head, it is the team that was boldly predicted earlier in this podcast. The Alabama Crimson Tide will be going to take on the Texas Longhorns in an absolute offensive showdown. Brent, curious to hear your thoughts first.
Yeah, absolutely. I have to go Texas here. I mean, we talked about them at length. We talked about both teams at length today. But Texas, it's going to be a really good year for them with Arch Manning, Anthony Hill, as we talked about, Murad Watson. coming in over from Syracuse on the other side of the ball.
Go
I really think Texas is primed for a great year and a great college football run.
Yeah, Joe, I know what you're going to say here earlier because you projected them to go all the way, but I'm going to have to agree with Brent and you as well. I think Texas, it's the Manning factor, it's the defense, it's the offense. It's there's a lot of firepower in both of these teams, but Texas is looking special this year.
Well, Braden, I could change my opinion. I could, but I won't. I have the Longhorns in a landslide here. I don't think any Crimson Tide product on the field can come up to what this Manning and company can do. This Longhorns team is just really dangerous, and that kicks it over. Brent is going to be torn into just a million pieces when the Nittany Lions go to play the Texas Longhorns. Should we save him for last, Braden?
Yeah, go ahead.
Let's do
it.
Let's do it.
Braden, I'm curious to see what take if you're gonna go in opposition here and make Brent just think for days about it.
I don't think I can do it. I know Brent loves this Penn State team going into the season. We mentioned the James Franklin effect. But yeah, I said it just a second ago. I said it again. This Texas team is looking special. They're gonna win this one.
Brent, I'm curious.
Yeah, I'm going Penn State. I really like this team. I know it's hard. It's hard to pick them going this far, especially when James Franklin has the reputation that he does. But I truly think Danny Dennis Sutton is going to carry the torch that Abdul Carter left for him. Nicholas Singleton, Katron Allen, Quentin Martin. We talked about those three guys at length. It's the best running back room in the entire country. Drew Aller, he's been tremendous for now, I think 3 seasons. I think he's entering his 4th season. I got to go Penn State here.
I got to be the opposition. I'll stand by my earlier take about just the Longhorns of how just impressive this offense is, really, and just how it feels complete. And it almost feels like we're jinxing them live on air here just a month before kickoff. It could say we're going to say they're the national champions and they go and get their butts kicked in the Buckeye Stadium. So that would be a kick in the rear for the status of this podcast, but we don't have to talk about that. I have the Longhorns in a close one. James Franklin with back-to-back semifinal appearances, as Braden would say, is nothing to sneeze at. I think it's enough to keep your job. Definitely something to look out for. But another intriguing matchup here is the Clemson Tigers versus the Ohio State Buckeyes. Braden, we'll have you go first on this one. I'm intrigued by this.
Yeah, I think this is an interesting matchup. It's been a long time since we've had back-to-back national championships. It's a long time, as in a couple years ago. But yeah, I think Ohio State's talented. They still got a lot of guys. But I think I'm going to ride with the quarterback experience here again. Klubnik obviously hasn't gone this far into the college football playoffs, but he does have experience in that game, in the playoffs at least. I think I'm going to go with Clemson here. I think they're going to take it home, and we got some ACC appearance in the Natty game. We'd love to see it.
Brent, Buckeyes, Tigers.
Yeah, it pains me to say it, being a Virginia Tech fan, but I truly think Clemson is one of the teams to beat in this college football playoff. We already talked about Cade Klubnik extensively, but it doesn't end there. They still have Peter Woods, who I think he's a top 5 pick in next year's NFL draft. He really reminds me of Dexter Lawrence, being that elite defensive tackle, especially from Clemson. They have TJ Parker, Avion Terrell, who is the brother of AJ Terrell, who's already an established veteran in the NFL. I think they're just loaded all across the board. So I'm going to go Clemson.
Not that it matters, like Braden said earlier, but I do have the Buckeyes in this one. I think just coming back from a national championship, it stands alone itself. I mean, you talk about Will Howard, a quarterback, no longer being there, with some big shoes to fill as well. But I think Ryan Day can get this offense there. I mean, Jeremiah Smith is already a lead captain and vocal leader. It's hard to lose your quarterback and your 2-star running backs, as well as Emeka Egbuka and several other star offensive tackles on the Buckeyes as well. But They keep churning. Wide receiver they keep going. So I had the Buckeyes, but it's okay because this Tigers team is also really good and obviously hyped up Klubnik and company very big 2 weeks ago on the ACC pod. Which brings us down to this. In one corner, you have Arch Manning, the kid, the son, ready to rock and roll. The Texas Longhorns looking for a national championship for the first time in a long time. Steve Sarkisian looking for his first and looking to get back there after losing in the semifinals to the Buckeyes. On the other corner, you have the Clemson Tigers, first-round exits of last year, just a dominant ACC powerhouse team that's looking to possibly transition to the SEC in the near future. It's Longhorns, it's Tigers. They're 13-1 apiece. Your 2025 Sports Outlet Show National Championship. What a game we have here. I think we may have a split decision. But I'll go first since you know my take. It goes back to what we've said all evening long. I think if Arch Manning is 75% as good as his prospect rating, the offense is great, the defense is better. As long as the special teams keeps kicking, we'll be okay. Don't forget your kickers and punters. They're important. I think this is where Steve Sarkisian finally crosses the line. There's no better way to prepare for a national championship than playing in the SEC and playing week 1 against Columbus. Against the Buckeyes. Put one up there for the Longhorns.
Yeah, I'm going Clemson still. Like I said, it pains me to say it, being an ACC fan, but I think that might actually work in Clemson's favor. They don't have to go up against the SEC, eight games on the schedule like Texas does, and we just talked about how good the SEC is. Yep. I think that Clemson could easily go into the playoff being the number 1 seed based on their schedule alone, and that might give them a favorable roadmap all the way to the championship. I really like Dabo. I really think that, as I said, Peter Woods, TJ Parker, Cade Klubnik, those guys are going to be key for them this season. I think Clemson wins it all.
Yeah. Potentially the battle for the number 1 pick here if Arch decides to declare. I think Tigers, you say. I talked about a lot of Tigers today. I do think Texas is going to be the one to get it done today. I think this would be an excellent national championship matchup. I do think, Brent, you mentioned the ACC schedule is not quite as tough as the SEC. I think that might work in Texas's favor. If they're 13-1, they're battle tested by some SEC teams, and Clemson just may not have what's the word?
Resume.
Yeah, the resume or the they won't have seen as many challenges. Yep. I know there's a word in there that I can't find, but I think Texas is just going to play some higher quality teams in the season, and it'll make them more battle ready.
I mean, it's crazy to say wearing an OU t-shirt on the Sports Outlet Show that we picked the number 1 Texas Longhorns to win the whole national championship. It's going to be an intriguing season. Super pumped, like Brent mentioned earlier, the SEC Netflix documentary coming out. I think that's going to be sick. Something we really haven't had in the appearance of college football. But now the players are getting paid, we can get these sort of things. So pretty cool to see. But I mean, we are 3 weekends away from week 0. Absolutely pumped to see some college football coming down the line here very shortly. Week 1 is loaded. It's fantastic. Hokies, Gamecocks. Does it get better than this? 3 weeks away from football. I'm pumped, and hopefully I stay pumped when I leave Mercedes-Benz.
Hopefully.
That's it, guys. Year 4 here on the College Summer Super Series. Huge shout out again to Alex Bagun. Thanks so much for all the graphics, the criteria, this Sports Outlet Show. As you see in the top corner, this is number 5.15. You know what that means. Season 6 coming down, which is ridiculous to think of where we are now, considering where we were just 6 years ago in a basement with a couple microphones attached to our T-shirts. And now we just have bigger microphones and you can see our face. So it hasn't gotten too much bigger, but genuinely appreciate all y'all hanging out with us here late on this Monday night. Super pumped. Make sure you watch some preseason football, college football coming down the line. talked about the SEC today, but don't forget about Maction. We're going to find a way to get it on Netflix. Make sure you follow us on Twitter as well at outlet_show. Like, subscribe if you want. We don't force people around here. We just appreciate y'all coming and hanging out here with us. Have a good night. We'll see you in season 6 on the Sports Outlet Show.